Hello, my friends. Let's be honest with ourselves for a moment. We've all felt it. That hot rush of blood to the face, the tightening in the chest, that single, overwhelming urge to lash out, to scream, to send that furious email you will absolutely regret 10 minutes later. That's the feeling of anger. It feels like an unstoppable force, a storm that takes over our mind and body, leaving a trail of regret in its wake. But what if I told you that anger doesn't have to be a storm? What if it's more like a fire that we ourselves are holding, and that we have the power to simply put down? For thousands of years, the Stoic philosophers understood this. They knew that we cannot control the events that happen to us. We can't control the traffic, the rude comments from a colleague, or the choices of our loved ones. But we have absolute and total control over one thing: our reaction. This is the single, powerful idea that separates Stoicism from 1,000 other philosophies. It's the conviction that our inner world is the one place where we have complete sovereignty. In this video, we're not just going to explore a list of tips. We're going to dive into 8 Stoic strategies for controlling your anger. These aren't just feel-good platitudes. They are battle-tested mental tools for mastering your inner citadel. They are philosophical exercises designed to turn your most volatile emotion into an opportunity for growth and tranquility. So let's begin. Strategy 1. The dichotomy of control. The core principle of the dichotomy of control is a profound and liberating truth articulated by the Stoic teacher Epictetus. Some things are in our control, and others are not. This isn't just a suggestion. It's a foundational truth for a tranquil life. The things in our control are our thoughts, judgments, opinions, desires, and actions. The things outside our control are external events, such as other people's actions, our reputation, our health, our wealth, and the weather. In our modern world, we're constantly bombarded with information and expectations that blur the lines between what we can and can't control. We're conditioned to believe that we can control every outcome. If we work hard enough, we'll get the promotion. If we're a good friend, our relationships will be perfect. If we buy the right products, we'll be happy. This constant striving to control the uncontrollable is a primary source of our frustration and anger. The Stoics argued that this is the very reason we suffer. Our anger stems from a futile attempt to bend reality to our will. Think about the common frustrations we face today: a frustrating text message, a delayed flight, or a rude comment online. We become angry not because of the event itself, but because we foolishly attempt to control or change what's outside our power. A traffic jam is just a collection of cars. The anger we feel is our own internal reaction to the inconvenience, a futile attempt to make the cars move faster. A rude message is simply a set of words. Our anger is the result of our judgment that we've been insulted and our desire to change the other person's behavior. The power of this principle lies in its simplicity and immediate applicability. This exercise forces you to shift your focus from the external world to your internal world, where you have absolute power. It's the ultimate reality check that empowers you to invest your energy wisely and find peace in a world you can't always control. Strategy 2. The view from above. The view from above is a powerful contemplative exercise practiced by Marcus Aurelius, the philosopher emperor, and other Stoics. It's a mental technique designed to give us a wider perspective on our lives and problems. The goal is to zoom out from our immediate, frustrating circumstances and see them in the context of the entire universe, with all its vastness and impermanence. By doing this, we can recognize that what feels so overwhelming and personal is, in reality, infinitesimally small and fleeting. This practice, also known as cosmic contemplation, serves as a powerful antidote to anger and anxiety. When we're angry, our focus narrows to a single point, the source of our frustration. This tunnel vision makes the problem seem enormous and all-consuming. The view from above intentionally breaks this narrow focus by forcing us to consider the bigger picture. Imagine you're caught in a heated argument with a loved one. The anger feels all-encompassing. Now, mentally float above your house. See the roof. Then, rise higher, watching your neighborhood shrink. Keep going. See your entire city as a tiny collection of lights on a map. From a satellite's perspective, your city is just a small part of a vast continent. From the moon, the Earth itself is nothing more than a beautiful, unnoticeable blue dot. By shrinking the perceived size of our problem, we also diminish its emotional power over us. The argument that felt like the end of the world is, from a cosmic perspective, a mere flicker in time. This isn't about invalidating your feelings, but about recalibrating them, helping you realize that your anger is far bigger than the fleeting event that caused it. Strategy 3. The pause. Anger, as the Stoic philosopher Seneca so powerfully described, is a brief madness. It's a fleeting, self-destructive force that, unlike other emotions, can bypass our reason entirely. The core insight here is that the key to managing anger isn't to suppress it once it's already taken hold, but to prevent it from ever taking root in the first place. The practical application of this wisdom is a simple yet revolutionary concept: the pause. It's the deliberate act of creating a small gap, a moment of space, between an external event and your emotional reaction to it. This is where your reason re-enters the equation, preventing a reactive, angry response. What the Stoics understood through observation, modern neuroscience now confirms with data. When you feel threatened or provoked, your amygdala, the brain's emotional command center, can trigger an instantaneous fight or flight response. This impulse is so quick that it can hijack the more rational, decision-making part of your brain, the prefrontal cortex. This is precisely why angry outbursts often feel so automatic and uncontrollable. The pause is a simple but powerful technique to interrupt this neurological shortcut. For example, when your colleague sends a rude email or someone cuts you off in traffic, your amygdala screams, "Threat," and your body prepares to react. But by taking a simple, conscious pause, you give your prefrontal cortex time to catch up. Counting to 10, taking a deep breath, or even a brief walk around the office helps to activate your parasympathetic nervous system, which works to calm your body and mind. This turns a knee-jerk reaction into a conscious choice. That one moment of space is all it takes to shift from being a slave to your impulse to becoming the master of your actions. Strategy 4. Premeditatio malorum. Now, this sounds dramatic and a little morbid, but trust me, it's one of the most practical tools in the Stoic toolkit. Premeditatio malorum literally translates to the premeditation of evils. I know what you might be thinking. Is this just Stoic pessimism? Absolutely not. This is a practical form of mental and emotional training. The core idea is simple. We mentally prepare ourselves for potential future hardships and misfortunes. We take a moment to visualize and reflect on potential adversities, like an insult from a colleague, a travel delay, or a difficult conversation with a family member. By confronting these events in advance, we strip them of their power to surprise and overwhelm us in the moment. The Stoics believe that by anticipating these events, we prepare our minds to meet them with calm reason rather than a frantic, angry reaction. How many times has your anger been triggered by the collision between your expectations and reality? We all expect things to go smoothly. We expect our flight to be on time, for people to be polite, and for our morning commute to be stress-free. But when reality doesn't cooperate, the shock of that unexpected inconvenience can ignite a fiery emotional response. Premeditatio malorum directly addresses this by altering our expectations. Think of it like a mental inoculation. Just as a vaccine prepares your body to fight a virus, this exercise prepares your mind to handle adversity. It removes the element of surprise, which is often the primary fuel for rage. A surprise attack leaves us disoriented and emotional, but a predictable challenge can be met with strategy and control. Instead of being blindsided by a rude comment, you've already considered that it might happen. It's no longer a shocking insult, but a predictable test of your patience. The exercise transforms a perceived threat into an opportunity for you to practice your resilience. It's a fundamental part of the Stoics' discipline, a way of training your mind to be strong and unshakable, no matter what external events may arise. Strategy 5, the email test. You've just received a message that cuts deep. A colleague undermines you, a friend betrays you, or a stranger hurls careless words your way. Anger surges. Your fingers hover over the keyboard, eager to fire back with venom dressed as truth. It feels justified, even righteous. But here is where Stoicism whispers a timeless caution, one that Seneca himself impressed upon his students. Pause and step outside yourself. The email test is our modern ritual for embodying this Stoic detachment. Before hitting send on an angry response, ask, would I be comfortable if this message were read aloud to a room full of people I respect? My family, my mentors, or even my future self? Seneca taught that anger shrinks our perspective, trapping us in a narrow frame where retaliation feels like victory. But when you imagine an audience, the frame widens. You are no longer a prisoner of the present offense. You become a judge of your own intentions. What once felt like strength begins to look petty. What once felt like justice begins to look destructive. This exercise does more than stop the impulsive email. It recalibrates the mind itself. It pulls you from emotion into reason, from reaction into reflection. You begin to ask the Stoic questions. Is this kind? Is this necessary? Will this action align with virtue or betray it? The brilliance of the email test lies in accountability. Anger seduces us with the illusion of privacy, the idea that our outburst is ours alone to vent. But when imagined under the eyes of others, the illusion shatters. You recognize that every word carries weight, shaping not only how others see you, but how you see yourself. And often, this moment of clarity is enough. The draft remains unsent. The impulse dissolves. What could have been a fracture in a relationship becomes instead a triumph of restraint. In that silence, you embody the very strength the Stoics revered. Mastery not over others, but over yourself. Strategy 6, the doctrine of impressions. The Stoics gave us a profound insight that feels almost surgical in its precision, the doctrine of impressions. Epictetus captured it in words that still cut through centuries of noise. What upsets people is not a thing in itself, but their judgment about the thing. Pause with that for a moment. An insult, a delay, a betrayal, even a sudden loss. None of these are inherently charged with anger. They arrive at our minds like raw data, like a notification ping on a phone. Neutral, empty of emotional weight. But almost instantly, we begin layering them with judgments. That driver is an idiot. That colleague disrespected me. That friend betrayed me. It is not the event that ignites the flame. It is the story we tell ourselves about what just happened. This doctrine hands us an unexpected power, the ability to put space between stimulus and response. When anger rises, the Stoic discipline is to slow down and ask, what is this really? If someone cuts in line, the fact is simply, a person moved ahead of me. Everything else, the offense, the disrespect, the outrage, those are our added colors, our brushstrokes on what could have been a blank canvas. In modern terms, think of impressions as mental pop-ups. They appear, uninvited, demanding your attention. The Stoic task is not to click every one, but to pause, hover, and decide. Do I want to open this? Or let it pass? Imagine how much calmer your day becomes when you stop taking every impression at face value. This is not denial. It is discernment. By stripping the event of your automatic judgment, you create a buffer, a small but powerful space where choice lives. In that space, you can decide to respond with clarity instead of heat, with reason instead of rage. So the practice becomes threefold. See the event plainly. Name only what is objectively there. Spot the judgment. Catch the story your mind is trying to attach. Withhold the judgment. Let the raw fact remain untouched, like clear water in a glass. In that stillness, anger dissolves. What remains is freedom. The freedom to choose your response, rather than being dragged by the first impression that knocks at your door. Strategy 7. Memento Mori. Memento Mori, which simply translates to remember you will die, is not a morbid fixation on death. It's not about dwelling on the end. It's a powerful tool for living a more purposeful and serene life right now. By contemplating the finite nature of our existence, we gain a critical perspective on the present. We realize that our life, and indeed the life of the person who just annoyed us, is a brief, unrepeatable opportunity, a tiny, fleeting spark in the eternal darkness. Anger often arises from a deep-seated sense of entitlement, a belief that we are owed a hassle-free day, a polite colleague, or an easy commute. Memento Mori shatters this illusion of entitlement by grounding us in the undeniable reality of our own mortality. Think about it this way. Are you truly going to waste precious, finite time being angry about a long line at the grocery store? Is a spilled drink, a minor traffic jam, or a slow Wi-Fi connection a worthy trade for a moment of your brief, unrepeatable life? The Stoics knew that every moment spent in rage is a moment stolen from your potential for joy, virtue, and peace. By regularly reflecting on our mortality, we learn to distinguish between what is truly important: our character, our inner peace, our relationships, and what is merely a passing, insignificant frustration. This practice creates a profound sense of urgency, reminding us that we have a choice about how we spend our energy. Are you going to squander it on pointless rage, or invest it in what really matters? Strategy 8. The practice of journaling. When we speak of journaling through the Stoic lens, we're not talking about a diary of trivialities or a sentimental record of passing moods. For the Stoics, and most vividly for Marcus Aurelius, journaling was a discipline of the soul. Meditations, perhaps the most famous Stoic text, is nothing more than his private notes to himself, reminders, corrections, rehearsals of virtue. He never wrote for an audience. And yet, because of that raw honesty, the work endures as one of philosophy's great treasures. Marcus treated his journal as a mirror. Each night he would examine the day's actions, thoughts, and impulses. He wrote to confront his own irrationality, to ask, why did I respond with anger here? What belief did I hold that led me to such agitation? In this way, the journal was not passive reflection, but an active workshop for the mind. Now, think of how this translates into our modern world. Today, we are more inundated with stimuli, more pulled into reaction by digital pings, fast news cycles, and constant social friction. Anger, in such an environment, becomes almost automatic. This is precisely why journaling is so essential. When you write down your thoughts after a heated exchange, instead of just stewing in them, you externalize the storm. You take what feels overwhelming and pin it to the page, where it can no longer dominate you. The mind sees more clearly when emotions are translated into words. The practice functions like a post-mortem of anger. Say you lost your temper in traffic, at work, or even with someone you love. In the journal, you replay the scene, not to wallow, but to analyze. What judgment triggered the outburst? Was it the belief that this should not be happening to me? Was it pride wounded by another's words? As Epictetus reminds us, it is not things that disturb us, but our judgments about them. Journaling makes this teaching tangible because it forces you to dissect the judgment itself. Over time, the journal becomes a laboratory for virtue. It's where you reinforce Stoic strategies, pausing before reacting, reframing insults, remembering impermanence. By writing them down, you make them commitments, almost like contracts with yourself. Each entry is a rehearsal of character. Each page is a reminder that anger is not destiny, but habit, and habits can be reshaped. Modern psychologists echo this. Expressive writing reduces stress, improves emotional regulation, and strengthens self-awareness. The Stoics already knew this. They simply called it philosophy in action. So, the next time anger flares, know this. The moment may pass, but the lesson waits for you in the journal. There, in ink, you are both student and teacher, witness and judge. Journaling, then, is not about writing. It's about rewriting yourself. So, those are the 8 strategies. They aren't incantations to erase anger, nor promises of instant serenity. Rather, they are the steady tools of a craftsman, instruments for shaping the raw material of your emotions into something stronger, calmer, more deliberate. Anger will still flicker because you are human, but mastery is not in extinguishing every flame. It is in learning how to keep the fire from burning down your house. Remember, anger is not your nature, it is a habit, and habits yield to discipline. Each pause, each reframing, each reflection in your journal is a stroke of practice, slowly carving a more resilient self. One choice at a time, you unlearn what enslaves you and build the freedom of inner command. The Stoics called this inner freedom the citadel, a fortress no insult can breach, no circumstance can overthrow. May you walk back to that citadel often, and when you do, may you discover not only the end of anger, but the beginning of peace. Thank you for watching. If you want to see more of teachings like this, do well to share, like, and hit the subscribe button.